Welcome to the Rockstar Principles Podcast, coming straight to you from Rock and Roll, USA, covering the latest and greatest in educational leadership trends, news, and awesomeness for principals all over the world. Now, here are your hosts, the boss, John Ross, and the Doctor of Proctors, Nick Indeglio.
Are back here. John is talking. we got all kinds of nonsense going on here. We got something important to talk about. Then we're gonna get to some fun. But first, look. Boom. The U.S. falls again in global education rankings, but could learn a lesson or two. There's been a ton of articles all over the internet over the past couple of weeks. The PISA study has come out. The United States has fallen. We are reeling, taking some big punches, and Assistant Principal Rob Farina is going to give us a little bit of the intro and summary here, and then we are going to talk shop about whether or not we believe this crap about America.
All right, thank you for that. So the PISA, or Program for International Student Assessment, just unleashed its fourth report on student achievement. This is the fourth time this test has been given. The U.S. is continuing to fall, and one of the things that they're saying is that students in the United States are fiscally less aware than students in other countries. However, I'm a huge fan of the European media. I like to read English newspapers, which I do daily, maybe not during other
Not
segments.
just for the soccer scores?
Not just for the soccer scores or during other segments of this podcast. But The Guardian and the Telegraph in the UK have come down pretty heavily on this test, the PISA test. And there's some interesting reasons why maybe we want to take what they have to say with a grain of salt.
So go right into that, Rob. Why should we take the results with a grain of salt?
Well, a couple reasons. One, a lot of the countries that do well on this test, the ever mighty Finland that we like to talk about, they teach specifically to the PISA test. Their curriculum is centered around this test. There are things that they do not cover that are not included within this test. A couple of the other problems with it are other countries that do well, not all of their children are educated. So you're having, the cream of the crop kids taking this test.
Bingo.
Thank you. Where in other countries, that's not necessarily the case. But other statistical problems are there's no clear way to show what their scores are. PISA or OECD, the Organization for Economic and Cooperative Development that puts out the PISA, they put out a cheat sheet on how they get their scores. This cheat sheet comes in at a whopping 419 pages. So there's really no clear determination on how a country gets its score. Other problems go down to cultural backgrounds. For example, it's a very long test. Most students don't finish it, and it's scored kind of like the SATs. If you don't answer a question, you don't lose points. But kids in different countries test differently. So in your Finlands, where they trained for this test, students know some of the strategies on how to take this test. Other countries where culturally they say, hey, let's hit every question and let's not move on until we get that question. They typically tend to score lower on this test because they're not getting through as much of the test. And in my estimation, the biggest issue with this test is it's written in one language, translated into Greek, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Russian, whatever, and then back to English. And, I am not a master linguist, but some people say that you cannot have a clear translation into one language from another one. So there may be test bias based on language. So again, I think there's some important stuff in here. The U.S. is not in the top schools like we have always claimed to be, but again, we don't know how accurate of reporting this test is.
So big question, flat out on the table, is should America be worried about this? Uncle Fester.
Uncle Fester.
You ever see the Saturday Night Live skit with Frank Sinatra, and he's got Sinead O'Connor on?
Oh, we got to do the voice if you're going to do that.
Uncle Fester!
No, I don't think I'm the baldest one in the room.
Nah, that's true. Not quite.
Immel.
But back to your... Whoa! Oh, holy cow!
Immel's bald?
Mr. Slate, I need to know. Just kidding.
You wearing a wig?
Yeah.
You're holding out on
That's
us?
it.
I don't remember what your question was.
Do we worry about
I
this? I
got
mean,
dragged
is
into that.
this relevant? Should America be on its heels because of the PISA test?
I view it the same as I view all of this stuff. Keep it in context. I think people get way too fired up about this. I think, I think we put way too much stock in all this. They've been saying this again for generations about how we're behind other countries. All right, I can't. I don't know. I got to worry about the 1,600 kids in my school and what I'm going to do to help the 1,600 kids in my school. And this is a debate that's going to go on and on and on between the bureaucracy and the different camps that have different opinions, not just for the kids' sake, but they're pushing a certain agenda so they feel a certain way. And I don't know. I've had it up to my ears with this comparison to other country stuff. I'm worried about the kids in my school and my own children at home. And that's about where the limit is for me right now. I don't know. It's getting close to winter break, so I'm kind of running on empty. I'm kind of on empty when it comes to this kind of stuff.
All right. Well, Tina Armenio, you're a new mom. Are you worried about the country that your daughter Ashley is going to be exposed to?
By Ashley, you mean Avery.
That's yes.
I was going to say, did we change the name?
No, my mom has been accidentally writing Ashley instead of Avery on things.
Oh, okay.
And telling people that the baby's name is Ashley.
Oh, well, that's understandable.
And I trust her 3 days a week to watch her by herself, so it's good that she can remember her name.
It's a good start. It's a good start to things, yeah.
No, I mean, I think the United States education is going to be just fine for Avery. I'm really not worried about it compared to...
Let me just say one more thing, and I'm going to shut up, okay? I promise I'm going to shut up, because I know I'm monopolized the time.
Yeah,
and I know
interrupt the new mom over here.
I know. Because because it made me think about something when you said about being a new mom. Well, when I was a new parent, my oldest
When you were a new mom?
Yeah, when I was a new mom. My oldest is now almost 15. But I remember thinking the same thing in that at the time we lived in a district that, wasn't real high up there in terms of academic achievement. And my thought was, and I remember saying this to my wife, I am comfortable sending my children to just about any school in the United States of America because I view it as my responsibility to do everything I can to prepare them for the school and to help them be successful, not the schools. I view the school as being the place where that mindset can be allowed to grow. That if I do the right thing as a parent and send my kids to that school with the mindset of I want to learn, I want to do what I can to learn, that the school will do everything they can to help. So that's part of the reason why I have an issue with all this is because I really, as Nick is making funny noises over there, I just see it completely differently than I think most people do. And that I think it's my responsibility as a parent to get my kids properly educated, not entirely the school's responsibility.
I've kind of thought that way. I mean, just even by the school district that we're in, kind of similar to what you're saying is I also trust myself as a parent and that my, kid is going to have certain study habits or that I'm going to enforce certain things that it doesn't matter even what school in the United States she goes to, she'll be successful. If she's going to be a successful student, that'll happen wherever she's at.
Rachel, any thoughts?
I don't have children of my own.
What about your pet turtle? What do you think about?
I would trust my turtle. Well, maybe
Thoughts
not.
in general, just then about the whole idea of comparing us to other countries and so forth. Stuff Rob was reading about. Any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I am in grad school now, so this often comes up, as you know, in class, because people love to voice their opinions and things like that. I mean, you're never really going to find a way to accurately compare. So you can say whatever you want, one side or the other, and you're always going to have people that are going to think one thing over the other, because that's their, belief system about it. But, I agree with you guys who are parents that a lot of it isn't necessarily the school. And, when you have these schools that aren't necessarily in, well-achieving school districts, it doesn't mean that you don't have phenomenal teachers in the classroom.
Let me, okay, so to wrap this one up, and I want to draw on the experience of Mr. Farina while we have it. Mr. Farina, before becoming an administrator, was a history teacher. And, this conversation, I guess to some degree, you could construe it as being ethnocentric. Almost akin to the argument, although not nearly as severe as saying, why do we need world languages when everyone across the globe speaks English. You know, America is the driving force of capitalism and much around the world, which is true. But 1983, Mr. Farina, A Nation at Risk changes the game. Prior to A Nation at Risk, you had the Cold War space race, which kind of drove things. Since No Child Left Behind in 2001, we've been on this cycle of standardized testing. Just from a worldview, from the way, you know, you would see it from a historical perspective, how do you see things going with these types of tests, with this continual push that the United States isn't keeping up? You know, what's the deal?
My unqualified opinion on this would basically be, I think we put way too much emphasis on the testing, and I understand that's the focus on getting education to where policymakers, lawmakers would like education to be. My view is, though, I think we missed the mark. And I always go back to what made America great. You know, and I look at my grandfather's generation, the World War II generation, where I had one grandfather who put himself through night school to graduate high school, and another one who dropped out at age 12 in the 7th grade to help his family during the Great Depression. Education was not at the forefront of that generation, but hard work was, achievement, love of community, love of family, and work ethic and driving forward. So I think, you know, our education system is very heavily based on standardized testing and putting 100% of kids into college. And I just think that misses the mark of what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we're in middle school education, and we talk a lot about educating the whole child. And I think when you look at a child as a data point on a standardized test, you're missing the mark of that whole child. Because I got to tell you, and I'm not the first one to say this, I'm not going to be the last one to say this, I don't believe that every child should go to a 4-year college. I don't think that that is the right path for everybody. And I think that what we need to focus on in this country, rather than you know, how we rack up against Finland in some test called the PISA, we need to look at keeping careers in the United States. And I think we have to look at having students, you know, I don't want to say in a career track, but being realistic with students, being realistic with futures for students, and help prepare them for jobs. And after we've helped prepare them for jobs, we have those jobs here for them. And I think about friends of mine. I think of one of my best friends who graduated by a 10th of a point in high school. And right now he is a successful owner of about 7 pizza shops. If he was a senior in high school today, they would be pushing him and pushing him and pushing him to go to a 4-year college. I'm going to tell you right now, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn for my friend, but he wouldn't have made it through a 4-year college when we graduated from high school, because that's not where he was looking. That's not where his focus was. And I think that's what we have to get back to in American education, is preparing students for the career that fits them, not trying to fit everybody into a 4-year college box. And it starts by having having all types of jobs in the United States.
And I'll go one further, and I don't know how much time we have left in this segment here, but since we're on a new topic, I feel free to speak, even though I said I wasn't going to talk anymore. We kind of moved on to a new topic. I'm going to go a step further because I agree completely with what Rob's saying. And Rob's point is that college is not for everybody. And I think our country is moving to the point where even kids who college might be right for don't necessarily need to go to college. That there's a lot of, I'm doing air quotes right now, college-ready kids that probably shouldn't go to, that don't necessarily need to go to college, that could make an outstanding career if they go to a vocational school or an associate's degree in something, or a 2-year degree in something. So by college ready, I mean like 4-year traditional college.
Yeah.
We're saturating the market, completely saturating the market with 4-year degrees in communications and 4-year degrees in business and 4-year degrees in all of these things that there's no jobs for. There's nothing for them to do. So these kids are getting out of school and they've got this piece of paper that's worth nothing. Meanwhile, they've got to pay the HVAC guy, thousands and thousands of dollars to come in and repair the central air in their home, if they can afford a home.
And you know what? I'm going to tag along with that and put a challenge out there. Listen up, 4-year colleges. Get your stuff together. Because we're developing and we're evolving at the K-12 level with innovative teaching, great teachers like Tina and Rachel here. And you guys aren't. You're lecturing, you're doing a bunch of BS, and it ain't helping anything.
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, BS. That's right.
That's right. Okay, so as we close this segment, Rob, why don't you give your friend a shout out? Let's give his with the name of his shops and stuff. We have listeners everywhere. Let's visit.
What's pizza shop? You know, he's not Rob's shaking his head. No, don't make me do that.
I plead fifth.
Okay.
All
Berks
right.
County, Pennsylvania pizza shops. There's got to be a guy.
There's like one or two, right, aren't there? All right, thanks, rock stars.
And now a word from our fake sponsors. But we'd really love if they were our real sponsors. Seriously, we would love it.
This past week, the Rockstar Principals took to Twitter and offered an amazing opportunity for free advertising on the Rockstar Principals podcast to the first person who could tweet us the request. Now, without further ado, here is your winner.
Have you ever wanted to be paperless but thought it was impossible in a school? Now's the time to take control of your school. In the book, Paperless Principal, you will learn how it is finally possible to be paperless in your work and home life. It just takes a little effort to get started, and once you do, the possibilities are endless. In this book, you will learn how to 1. Deal with every single document you get by walking through a paperless workflow. 2. Use the right tools for what you need. 3. Develop a system that works for you. 4. Use specific pieces of software to make your technology work for you. And 5. Create workflows step by step so that it is easy for you to repeat it later. This book by Jethro Jones, once again called The Paperless Principal. Pick it up. Available on the iTunes bookstore, as a matter of fact, on the iBookstore. Jethro Jones, whose Twitter handle is @JethroJones, just as it sounds. You'll find him on Twitter. He's an assistant principal at the Copperview Elementary School in the Canyons School District in Utah. And you can find out more information about his book at paperlessprincipal.com. So there you have it, our first free advertisement from one of our Twitter followers. Might be a good segment for us to do more often, Nick.
I think so. And wait a minute, you said the iTunes store, right? You
Yeah.
can find the book Paperless Principal?
Yes.
While you're there, hey, why not subscribe to the Rockstar Principals podcast if you're not already?
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're listening when they already, well, not necessarily
Not
subscribe.
necessarily.
That's true.
Yeah, because we
That's
need
true.
people to rate us and whatnot too.
That's right.
Hey,
Get on there.
In all seriousness, this is fascinating because if you follow David Allen, the whole idea of workflow and that idea of clearing the in basket, getting rid of the repetitive loops in your head,
Right.
the getting things done. They call it the GTD framework. And the programs that exist to help you do that, like OmniFocus, that can touch into the Outlook. Here is a principal, someone who does the job that we do, who has developed his own system. So it's going to be tailor-made and laser-focused for your workplace. I'm really excited to check it out.
Yeah, and there's some other things on his website, on paperlessprincipal.com. He's got a few other blog posts, just the trouble with 1080p video recording on an iPad, how to resize Instagram photos to print 4x6 prints. I actually want to check that one out. That's a good idea because you get some pretty good pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be able to print those out on regular size prints. So check out his website. All right, Jethro Jones, and his website once again, paperlessprincipal.com.
Maybe he'll invite us to Utah.
That'd be awesome.
All right, Rockstar Principals. Only 3 segments left until we conclude the Church of Whitaker.
Oh,
It's a sad, sad time.
it is. I can't believe it.
But just like that crazy cult guy believed, he thought aliens were going to come down and end the world. And that didn't happen, but their cult ended. They all killed themselves and
look, we're already ahead of that guy because we accomplished our goal of getting Dr. Whitaker on the podcast before we even got halfway. Right after we got halfway through the list.
And we didn't kill anybody.
No, that's a bonus.
Big plus.
We didn't have to record any goofy videos like that guy did,
Very
we don't
goofy.
require our followers to wear snazzy jumpsuits and sneakers.
What was that guy's
they
name?
did. I don't remember. I just remember that was the goofiest thing ever.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, no,
spaceships.
we are not a cult.
We're not a cult.
Not really.
Nope.
Technically, by the technical definition, no.
No.
We are the Church of Whitaker, and we are at number 16 of the 18 things great principals do differently.
Number 16. Great principals work hard to keep their relationships in good repair. They avoid personal hurt, and they repair any possible damage that might have occurred. Goes back to relationships, I think, in this case, John. And even in situations where you get into an argument, maybe it's heated, maybe it's personal, maybe you were having a bad day, maybe they were having a bad day. I think the point Todd Whitaker's trying to make here is that it's your job as the leader to look forward, take the higher ground, and repair the damage. And I think it ties into what he talked about during his keynote speech at PAE SSP conference. SP conference. How many S's?
PAESSP.
SSP. It is 2 S's.
Yeah.
And I think the point here is that he made at the conference, and then we can talk about how we see it, is that even the people whom he might not value as much because of their performance or their belief systems, he doesn't let them know that. He still affords them every opportunity to do better and to put them in positions where they still have the chance to perform. So is it manipulation to some degree? I think there's manipulation involved.
Definitely.
But regardless, unless this is a person who you're going to remove from your building because they can't cut the mustard, it's up to us to repair damage, to avoid the hurt. So,
yeah, and I view it very similar, I think, to how we expect teachers to have relationships with students. In other words, it's never personal. We should never take things personally, and we should never make things personal, obviously. But that, sometimes we may come across a certain way, and sometimes we may affect people personally, and we should make every effort to fix that, to make sure people understand that, look, whatever decision it was that I made, that I hope you can accept it, and I hope you understand that it's not personal, and that I value you as a professional here. But this is a situation where you might not agree with what I'm doing. But yeah, you have to make sure that it's always business, that you're always the cooler head, that you're always the one taking the higher ground. No matter how tempting they might make it to take the low ground, you have to always take the high road. I remember a teacher, actually, our union head, when I was a young teacher, the guy was the president of our association. He used to use the phrase, we need to live our lives beyond reproach. And that's what he used to say to us as teachers. And that kind of stuck with me when I became an administrator too. In that, no matter how we conduct ourselves, no matter what we do personally, even outside of school, we have to consider that we're beyond reproach, and that I even think about things like this when I'm interacting with people on the road. You know what I mean? And the last thing, because I've got like a Lineville Middle School bumper sticker on the back of my car.
Yep.
And if somebody cuts me off, or something happens on the road, I try to remain calm, because I'm thinking I don't want this to boomerang and somebody to see that I'm from Lineville Middle School, and them to come looking for the CRV at Lineville Middle School looking for me. Do you know what I mean? So I try to do this across the board with teachers, parents, students, people in the community, everybody. Just try to keep things professional, and to not roll around in the mud and make the pig happy.
And I think Dr. Whitaker is also recognizing that while we can attempt to live our lives beyond reproach, that we are going to make mistakes sometimes,
right?
And that's okay. Because if you make the mistake, then just make sure that you try to fix it. And an honest attempt to fix a mistake, you can gain. And I know this is slightly off topic, not exactly what he's talking about, but
right.
So
I think it is though. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Easy to diffuse a group of staff members, an individual teacher, when the first thing that happens when you sit down for a contentious staff meeting or a personal meeting, the first thing you say is, you know what? Before we start, I just want to say I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I messed up. I'm here to try to fix it. Or this isn't exactly how I would have liked to gone about doing this, but here are my reasons why. And I appreciate that you're upset.
Yeah, and I think in a sense that's what he's saying, that you're going to, it's just the nature of our business that when you have people that are passionate on both sides of things, that sometimes those passions are going to collide, and that you have to always be prepared to take a step back and acknowledge that, and even as you're saying, verbalize that, and say to the other person, look, We're both very upset right now. We're both very passionate about what's going on right now. Why don't we take a break from this conversation? Do you know what I mean? I've done that. I've told people, look, let's just take some time, to chill out, and why don't we talk more tomorrow? You know what I mean? I respect you too much, and, I don't want this to turn into a situation where we both say things we're going to regret. So again, I think it has parallels across both professionally, personally, and at all levels, from superintendent all the way down to the people dealing on the front lines with kids, that you have to maintain that professionalism and that ability to not make things personal.
It's interesting because we've talked 100 times over on the podcast about not making things personal, not taking things personal, not making them into a personal situation. Right. I think it's worth noting though that I remember when I was starting out as an assistant principal, and I see it now with a lot of either new principals or newer assistant principals, where especially with parents, there'll be an issue with a kid or a group of kids, and the parents come in and the principal is already setting the stage for a confrontation. I'm going to be right here. And 10 times out of 10 with parents, you don't have to be right.
Right.
All you have to do is sit and listen.
Yep.
Tell them you understand. They love their kid.
Right.
And then half the time, that's all you got to do. You don't even have to solve a problem, really.
It's so funny that you say that. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but that's one of the first pieces of advice I got as an assistant principal was just that same thing. That my mentor, Joe Galley, who was my principal, and he became superintendent when I was principal in my former district. I can remember having conversations with him and dealing with either parents or most of the time teachers and saying to him, but I'm right. Don't you understand? I'm right. And he would just look at me and say, yeah, you are, but that doesn't matter right now. Yep. That really doesn't matter. Right now, the situation needs to be diffused. There'll be time for everyone to see who was right in this situation. When the chips all fall out and things settle down, people will recognize who or what was right. That's not important right now. What's important right now is that the damage to the relationship gets repaired. What's important right now is that everybody, as you're saying, gets the opportunity to be heard and feels as though their voice matters. And then once all of that happens, then whatever's right, that there'll be time for that to happen.
All right. Well, and I don't think you can say it any better than that. And I think that pretty much touches on all the key points of this one here. So
yeah, right on, brother.
It's time to wrap up our third to last segment of the Church of Whitaker. Oh my goodness!
I got a single tear forming.
Hold that tear because we still got two more Whitakerian segments to go. So until the next time, put on your robes, keep them on, and hey, buy some of Todd's books. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
Cheapskates, go on Amazon.
And when you go on Amazon and buy it, be sure you put in the comments that you were sent there by the Rockstar Principals.
Absolutely.
We'd like to get some cred.
It's going to help when we go out
it helps us
dinner
with,
this summer.
Yeah, when we're when we start stalking Dr. Whitaker again, we want to be able to say. All right, thanks. We'll be right back with more of the Rockstar Principals podcast.
And now a word from our fake sponsors. But we'd really love if they were our real sponsors. Seriously, we would love it.
Geez, John, do you ever feel so lonely that there's no one to talk to, no one who understands you? Or you go home at the end of a long workday and your wife and your kids want to talk about your day, but you just don't feel like it because they don't understand what it's like and they can't really relate to it?
Well, as a matter of fact, Nick, I used to feel that way a lot. But that's happening less and less now that I've started getting on a bunch of those Twitter chats that we're so fond of. If only there were a Twitter chat that were geared specifically for the principals.
You mean a chat dedicated solely to principals on topics that relate directly to principals?
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
If only there was an organization who wanted to get behind that idea with the Rockstar Principals to make it a reality.
You mean like the Pennsylvania Association of Elementary and Secondary School Principals?
That's exactly what I mean.
Led by Dr. Bill Ziegler, who you can find at Dr. Bill Ziegler on Twitter.
You mean Ziegler Ziegler?
And the doctor is just Dr.
Just Dr.
Dr. Bill
no
Ziegler.
Period.
No. Dr. Bill Ziegler. Well, not spelled out Dr. D-O-C-T. I'm sorry, I digress. Yes. Dr. Yes. Bill Ziegler, the president of the Pennsylvania Association of Elementary and Secondary School Principals. has approached the Rockstar Principals to do a joint effort and begin a Twitter chat geared just for principals, not just for Pennsylvania principals, but principals all over the world, and actually anybody that's interested in the work of the principalship. So if you're an aspiring leader,
Absolutely.
you're somebody who's a teacher, who's an aspiring administrator, or maybe if you're a superintendent who wants to, get in on the chats that are going on in the lives of principals. But not that we don't enjoy all of the other chats that go on all around, which we do. We get so much from our PLN and everything that they offer and that we hear from in all of those chats. We really wanted to start a chat that was just geared toward the principalship. So all of our topics are going to be focused from the principal lens, and we're going to try to give you guys, our fellow principals or aspiring principals, a voice and give you an opportunity to really speak from the principal's perspective.
And we want to get everyone in the country and the world to join us, because right now we know the Rockstar Principals podcast is hitting 48 states. It's hitting 30 plus countries. We want all of you to join us on Twitter during this chat to lend a voice for a global communication.
I thought you were going to say domination for a second there.
We'll get to that. We will get to that. I think our first one we might not want to go for
domination.
Global domination at the Spectrum.
No one outside the Philadelphia area got this Spectrum
No, that's
reference,
okay.
but that's all right.
Why don't
So
you tell
yeah,
them, John?
first
Tell
one's
them.
going to be January the 9th. I think we're going to shoot for Thursday nights.
Yep, Thursday nights.
Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Thursday nights at 8. I think we chose Thursdays because we decided that most school board meetings are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yep.
So we thought maybe most leaders, as much as maybe some of us would like to do Twitter chats during school board meetings, that would be inappropriate, and we're not going to do that. So our first one's going to be on January 9th. No, you read comic books during school board meetings.
Yeah, I do.
January the 9th at 8 p.m. So mark that down on your calendars. We hope you can join us. And things go well, we'll try and shoot for every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Okay?
And since it's early right now...
Oh, we got to make sure we mention the hashtag, too. I'm sorry.
And that's not as big of a deal at this point. But yeah, we want to give it to them. We're gonna try to make this an event, so we're not going to give you the topics yet. We're going to save that till we get a little bit closer. And we might have some cool prizes and stuff as well. But we're going to get as we get closer. But anyway, give them the hashtag.
Prizes for us?
Well, I'm hoping we get something out of it. We're going to get... educated.
There you go. And we're also world domination too.
Yeah,
that's later. But don't leave that part out. Okay, so the hashtag for the Twitter chat on January 9th at 8 p.m. is going to be hashtag PAESSP chat. PAESSP chat. And again, we wanted to include that because we wanted to give props to the Pennsylvania Association of Elementary and Secondary School Principals. They're the force behind this. Dr. Bill Ziegler has really been supportive of the Rockstar Principals ever since we talked to him the first time about it back at the conference back in October. He's really been pumping us up and giving us a lot of support. So we're really looking forward to starting this. So hopefully you can join us on January the 9th at 8 p.m. That's Eastern time, by the way. 8 p.m. Eastern time. And the hashtag, once again, hashtag PAESSP chat. Awkward silence.
Thanks for helping RSP top the charts in the Edu podcast world. Keep it real with Twisted Steel and School Appeal.